All right, welcome back. Today, we are diving deep into a topic that's part art, part science, and a whole lot of strategy. We're talking about logo design, but look, we're not just going to talk about making something that looks pretty. We're going to figure out what it actually takes to design the right logo. You know, a mark that truly becomes the soul of a brand. So, let's get into it.
And this quote right here, it really just sets the stage perfectly for everything we're about to discuss. See, the real challenge isn't just creating a cool visual. It's about crafting a symbol that's packed with meaning, and most importantly, that actually works. That's the huge difference between simple decoration and real communication, and that's exactly what we're here to unpack.
So here's the game plan. We'll start with the big challenge. What is a logo really supposed to do? Then we'll get into the absolute, non-negotiable first step, which is getting to know the brand. After that, we'll lay out the recipe for an iconic design, talk about why process is everything, cover the role of color, and then, finally, send you off ready to create something amazing.
Okay, let's kick things off with a foundational question. What is a logo's true purpose? It's a question a lot of people get wrong, honestly. But to get to the right answer, we can turn to an absolute legend, the designer Paul Rand.
This right here is the whole ball game. A logo is like a flag, a signature, a street sign. Its number one job isn't to convince you to buy something on the spot. No, its job is to identify a brand so that you instantly recognize it and, hopefully, trust it. It's really the face of the brand's entire story.
So, if a logo is all about identifying something, what exactly is it identifying? This is the point where so many designers just jump the gun. Before you even think about opening up a design program or picking up a pencil, you have to become a student of the brand. You have to understand its soul.
And that comes from the advertising powerhouse Lee Clow. Think about it. It's not about the cars they build or the coffee they roast. It's about what the brand stands for, its core belief, its whole reason for existing. That's the strategic thinking that has to come before anything else.
So how do you get there? Well, for starters, you can help write or, at the very least, deeply understand the brand's mission statement. What do they believe? Second, you have to dig into the strategic thinking. What's its personality? Is it a rebel, a caregiver? And third, you need to define the emotional benefits. How does this brand make people feel? Adventurous, safe, part of something bigger? That's the story your logo has to tell. Okay, so once you have that deep, foundational understanding of the brand, then you can start thinking about the design itself. And you can think about this next part like a time-tested recipe from a world-class chef. These are the essential ingredients for a truly iconic identity.
The first, and honestly the most important ingredient, is simplicity. And why is that? It's because a simple logo is just easier to recognize, it's way more versatile, and it has a much better chance of feeling timeless. A simple mark works on a giant billboard and on a tiny little app icon. But simple doesn't mean easy. Not at all. It means finding the most direct, elegant, and effective solution.
I mean, just look at Paul Rand's brilliant rebus for IBM. It's incredible. He used super simple icons, an I, a B, and the letter M, to create something that was playful, incredibly memorable, and built from the most basic forms imaginable. That is pure genius at work.
Next up, your design has to be relevant. This just means it needs to feel appropriate for the industry and for the audience you're talking to, right? You wouldn't use some bubbly, playful font for a serious law firm. But here's the key. Relevant does not mean literal. A car company does not need a picture of a car in its logo. It needs to capture the feeling of that car company, whether that's speed, luxury, or rock-solid reliability.
An iconic logo just has to stand out in a ridiculously crowded market. You have to do your homework, look at the competition, and then make sure your design is completely, totally different. You know, the ultimate test? A truly distinctive logo is so recognizable that you know exactly what it is just from its silhouette. And this is just a perfect example of that power of distinction. Milton Glasser's poster for Bob Dylan, it wasn't just a picture of an artist. It basically became a symbol for an entire era. That iconic silhouette with the wild psychedelic hair just captured the vibe of the 1960s, and you know it the second you see it, even today. And that brings us to our final key ingredients, adaptability and longevity. You know, trends come and go, but a great logo should look fresh for decades. You really want to avoid anything that's going to look dated in a year or two. And it absolutely positively has to be adaptable. It's got to work everywhere, in every size, and in every single context. The evolution of the UPS logo is a fantastic case study here. Look at Paul Rand's original 1961 design with that little string-tied package on top, so clever and modern for its time. And then, decades later, it was updated But that core concept of the shield, that feeling of security, it's still there. A strong idea endures.
So, we've got our principles down. But here's the thing. A great logo doesn't just magically appear out of thin air. It is born from a really rigorous, intentional process of sketching, critiquing, and refining. It's all about process, not just making something pretty.
And this is a peek inside what that process looks like. On the left, you see a bunch of initial digital ideas, just getting concepts out there. But on the right, that's where the most important step happens, self-critique. The designer is asking tough questions, finding what's weak, and making deliberate choices to make each concept stronger. This is where the real work gets done.
And these are the exact kinds of questions you should be asking yourself over and over again. Does this design check all the boxes we just talked about? Is it simple? Is it relevant? Is it memorable? And here's a big one. Is it still clear when you shrink it down really small? And most importantly, does it actually communicate that core brand story? This kind of structured evaluation is absolutely essential.
Okay, so after all of that hard work on shape and form and concept, now it's finally time to talk about that last really powerful ingredient, color. But listen, there is one golden rule here that you can never, ever forget. Color is always secondary to the logo's fundamental shape and form. I'm going to say it again. Color is secondary. Way too often, designers jump straight to picking colors, and that is a huge mistake. Your logo has to work perfectly in a single color before you even think about a palette.
This is what we call the single color test. If you strip all the color away from your design and it just falls apart or becomes unrecognizable, it means the underlying structure, the actual idea, just isn't strong enough. A great logo's concept and form are so solid that it communicates everything it needs to in plain black and white.
Once your form is absolutely locked in and rock solid, then you can use color to add this whole other layer of meaning. Color psychology is a seriously powerful tool. Yellow can feel optimistic, blue can feel trustworthy, right? Choosing the right palette helps amplify all those emotional benefits and the brand personality you worked so hard to define way back at the beginning.
Wow, we have covered a lot of ground, from the deep brand strategy and core principles, all the way to the design process and the proper role of color. You now have the recipe, you have the roadmap, you really have the tools to move beyond designing just any logo and start designing the right one.
And I just want to leave you with this one final thought. Mastering these principles, really truly understanding them, gives you the foundation you need. Because once you know the rules inside and out, that's when you can start to successfully push the boundaries and create something truly, truly groundbreaking. Now, go make something iconic.